Shabbat Shalom, and on behalf of Bet David Stanton, Bet Menorah Pretoria, and Bet David Durban, welcome to our service this evening. Like all congregations, as we approach the high holy days, we appeal to our congregants to assist the congregation by making a donation to the synagogue. Bet David is where we develop as committed Jews and where our children formulate their Jewish identity. Bet David is a place where together we pray, albeit virtually right now. We celebrate life cycle events and find a center for support during difficult times. Bet David anchors our Jewish community and is a forceful symbol that Judaism endures. If our synagogue and congregation are important, if our children's Jewish education is important, then supporting the synagogue is important. The High Holy Days liturgy requires every Jew to live by the spirit of repentance, prayer, and charity. The Shabbat candles this evening will be lit by Desiree Hollander in celebration of her birthday this week.
As these candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own way be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, eternal our God, sovereign of the universe, who hails us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Shabbat Shalom and Mazel Tov. Happy birthday, Desiree. It's lovely to have your light as you bring light to all of us. Indeed, David, we stand on the precipice of the high holidays, and tomorrow night is Slichot, is our first opportunity to gather and to recite the penitential prayers. There is a communal invitation for everybody to join with Beth Emmanuel. That will be at 6 o'clock. And if you are in need of something a little later, I'm also doing a small, short Slichot service at 9:30 tomorrow night. And Glynis has got the link. It's the regular ITJ link. So we will be gathering in 2 times. So open your hearts. Bring yourself to this season. It's actually a season of great joy. You can imagine the Israelites now coming into the land, living in small huts, being in awe of all of the beautiful trees and the produce that they find around them, and beginning to settle in. And that's really what our job is to live in awe and to understand that we have both the flimsiness of our Sukkot and the security of knowing that we are always in the presence of the divine. And if we were in Tzfat, and it was the 15th century, I would invite you all to come with me now out to see the beauty of the fields and to dance on the mountainsides as we welcome in the Shabbat. But we're not in Tzfat, and it is not the 16th century, so I'm going to invite Reb David to lead us in Kabbalat Shabbat, to take us into our hearts instead of into the fields, where we find equal beauty.
Thank you, Rabbi, for those kind words. Now, I can just tell you that most Jewish people swell up with pride when a Jewish person is awarded an honor or highlighted for some good reason. That I think you've seen, and you've probably done that yourself. And justifiably so, when one reflects that almost 30% of Nobel Prizes have been won by a tiny 1 or 2% of the world's population. In South Africa, Absa Bank annually runs the Absa Jewish Achiever competition. Last year, the focus was understandably on persons connected with combating the COVID virus. We now hear people talking about seeing the end of the pandemic and looking to a brighter future. One commentator has written about hope and the inspiration that some leaders have raised to encourage us all. The award categories cover, for example, business leadership, community service, women in leadership, 9 categories in all. Any individual can nominate someone, and you are invited to consider doing so. Nominations close at 5 p.m. on Friday, 3rd September, and may be sent to nominations@sajewishReport.co.za. Let me repeat that. Nominations@sajewishReport.co.za. Further details are available at their website, www.sajr.co.za. Shabbat Shalom to you all as we turn to page 130 and have a look at our Psalms from which we draw inspiration. Lachuna ranana ladana naria lesu yishenu nekadama panav betoda bizmirot naria lo kel gadol adonai umelech gadol al kol Elohim asher biyado mechkerei aretz v'toafot harihim lo asher lo hayom v'hu asahu v'yabeshet yadav yatzaru בואו נשתחווה ונכרעה, נברכה לפני אדוני, עושנו, כי הוא אלוהינו, ואנחנו עם מריתו וצאן ידו, היום אם בקולו תשמעו. We turn now to page 131. 130, sorry. Get that right. To page 131 at the top. This is a tribute to what God has created. In God's hand are the depths of the earth. The peaks of the mountains are God's. God's is the sea. God made it. And the land which God's hands fashioned. Come, let us bow down and kneel. Bend the knee before God, our Maker. For the Eternal One is our God, and we are the people God tends, the flock in God's care. Oh, if you would but heed God's charge this day. And from there we turn to page 132. Here we have a tribute to, and a further tribute to what God has achieved for us. Raise a shout to God, all the earth. Break into joyous songs of praise. Sing praise to God with the lyre and melodious song, with trumpets and the blast of the horn. Raise a shout before God, the ruler. Let the sea and all within it thunder, the world and its inhabitants. Let the rivers clap their hands, the mountains sing joyously together at the presence of the Eternal One. For God is coming to rule the earth. God will rule the world justly and his peoples with equity. We turn now to page 136, and we ask the choir to pick up the baton and run with Havul Adonai B'nai Elim.
Havul Adonai B'nai Elim, Havul Adonai Kavod Va'oz, Havul Adonai Kevod Shemo, Yishlach Havul Adonai Be'adrat Kodesh. Shover Arazim, Vayishaver Adonai et Hazer Al-Hanon. Ayakitem, Kemo Egel, Kevanon Pesigon, Kemo Verenim. Kol Adonai Chotzev Le'avotish, Kol Adonai Yachil Midbar. Yachil Adonai Midbar Kadesh, Yachil Adonai Midbar Kadesh. Kol Adonai, Yachol Le'ayalot, V'yefesot Ye'arot, V'chechalo Kolo Mekavot. Adonai Lamahu Yashav, V'yeshev Adonai Melech Le'olam. Adonai Oseh Amo Yiten, Adonai Yevarech et Amo B'Shalom.
Adonai Oz Le'amo Yiten, Adonai Yevarech et Amo B'Shalom. May God grant strength to our people. May God grant our people what we all strive for, peace. We turn now to page 138 and join the choir in Lecha Dodi.
Lecha lecha dodi, tikrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, tikrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. שמו תפארת ולתהילה, לה 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 לך דודי, לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי, לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה, מעשה במחשבת תחילה, לה 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 לך דודי, לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי, לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה, מקדש מלך עם מלוכה, ומצאים מתוך ההפכה, רב לך שבט בעמק הבכה, והוא יקמול עלייך, לה 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 לך דודי, לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי, לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי בשלום, עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצולה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, לך דודי, לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לה 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 לך דודי, לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי, לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לה לה.
Page 140, please. מזמור שיר ליום השבת. טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון. להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות. עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בכינור. כי שמחתני אדוני בפועליך, במעשה ידיך ארנן. מה גדלו מעשיך אדוני, מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך. איש בעל לא ידע, וכסיל לא יבין את זאת.
צדיק אתה יברח, כארץ בלבנון, בלבנון יזכה, שתוליד בבית אדוני, בחצרות אלוהינו יבריחו. עוד ינובון בשיבה, דשנים ורעננים יהיו ישרת צורים ולא המלצה בו.
Page 144, חצי קדיש. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ברמה דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמרה במבורך, לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה. יתברך, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דעה מהירן ביומה ואמרו אמן.
We're going to try that all over again because so sorry, I had turned on the mute. There was a siren over on the other side. We continue on page 148. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of the day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness away from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzvaot Shemo, El Chai V'Kayam Tamid Yimloch Aleinu Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Ha'ma'ariv Ha'ravim.
Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha כי הם חיינו, ויורך ימינו, ובהם נגי יומם ולילה, נגי יומם ולילה, באהבתך אל תשים ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אוהב עמו ישראל.
We continue with the Shema on page 152. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. Thus you shall remember all of my mitzvot, and you, in remembering them, in doing what you can to create a holy world, will become holy. You will become holy to me. You will become holy among the nations. I am the Lord your God who took you out of Egypt in order to create this relationship with you, in order to make you holy. I am the Lord your God in truth. We continue with the Mi Chamocha on page 158.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדע בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, זה לי Adonai yimloch le'olam.
ונאמן. כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל. Page 161. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. You know, this prayer is really about protecting us from the things that come to us without our awareness. The things that come in the night when we're asleep, the experience we suddenly have on the street that is unpleasant. We ask that we are helped to walk with, I love this translation, good companions, that we can always protect each other, and to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up, waiting, and I'm going to say eager, to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים. The blessing for keeping Shabbat is on page 162, and our choir will remind us of our commitment to making this day holy that has influenced the whole world.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי
We enter now into the Holy of Holies. We've prepared ourselves, we've reminded ourselves of the unity of the divine, and here we come to that moment of just pure being with ourselves, in our small community of our homes, and in our larger community of Beit David. So I invite you to join with the choir as we open up our hearts and invoke the God of our ancestors, all those wonderful qualities that they have passed to us, the love of others, hospitality, the understanding that miraculous things can happen, the continuous work to better the lives of our children. All these things and more we receive from our past, and so we sing out in gratitude, starting on page 164.
Adonai sefata tiftachu fi yagitei latecha. Adonai sefata tiftachu fi yagitei latecha. ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם, ועזרת שרה.
Page 168. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיה, כל אתה רב להושיע. מחלקי חיים בחסד מחיה, הכל ברחמים רבים. תומך נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים. ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך. מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה. ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל. Page 170. You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy, and even those who sometimes are feeling like they are not so holy, praise you every day. Baruch ata Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. Page 172. Ata kidashta et yom hashvi'i leshimcha, techila ma'aseh shamayim va'aretz. You set aside the seventh day for your name, the pinnacle of creation, and you blessed it above all other days, more sacred than all festive times. So it is written in your Torah, the heaven and the earth were fashioned, and all their array. We're almost going to be there. Just as soon as we finish with all these holidays, we'll read Genesis again. Vayachulu hashamayim ve'aretz v'kol tzva'am. Vayachal Elohim b'yom hashvi'i mikol malachto asher asa. Vayishbot b'yom hashvi'i mikol malachto asher asa. Vayivarech Elohim et yom hashvi'i v'yakadesh oto ki bo Shabbat mikol malachto asher bara Elohim la'asot. O God and God of our ancestors, be pleased with our rest. Sanctify us with your commandments, and grant us a share in your Torah. Satisfy us with your goodness, and gladden us with your salvation. Purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, Adonai our God, grant us as our heritage your holy Shabbat, that Israel who sanctifies your name may rest upon it. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. And we reprise that moment of desire that our hearts may be purified and we may see truly the path of glory, and we walk upon it with the choir singing V'taher Libenu.
V'taher libenu, v'taher libenu, v'taher libenu lioftecha be'emet. V'taher libenu, v'taher libenu, v'taher libenu lioftecha be'emet. Da 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 da, hoi! Da 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 da, da 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 da. V'taher libenu, v'taher libenu, v'taher libenu lioftecha be'emet. V'taher libenu, v'taher libenu, v'taher libenu lioftecha be'emet.
Find favor, Adonai, our God, with your people Israel, and with all who pray to you in truth, and accept the prayers of the world with love. May the worship of your people Israel always be acceptable to you. God, who is near to all who call, turn lovingly to your servants. Pour out your spirit upon us. Baruch atah Adonai, she'ota levadcha b'yirah na'avod. Blessed are you, to whom we all offer our allegiance. Page 176. צור חיינו מגן אישנו, אתה הוא לדור ודור. נודה לך נספר תהילתך על חיינו המסורים בידיך, ועל נשמותינו הפקודות לך, ועל ניסך שבכל יום עמנו, ועל נפלותיך ותורתך שבכל עת, ערב ובוקר וצהריים. הטוב כי לא חלו רחמך, המרחם כי לא חלו חסדיך, מעולם קיווינו לך. For all these things, O Sovereign, let your name be forever praised and blessed. O God, our Redeemer and Helper, let all who live affirm you and praise your name in truth. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulacha na'eh lehodot. Please spread your blessing of peace across the entire world. Page 178. And as we turn to a moment of silent meditation, I invite you to send prayers to those in Afghanistan who are experiencing the tremendous upheaval, and to hold in your hearts as we ask really for our own wishes, the children, especially the children who are suffering, who are missing their parents, who are experiencing violence in a way that no child should have to experience. And that maybe we can, in our hope, in the goodness of our hearts, help to bring hope and change and an end to suffering. May it be so. Let us turn our hearts towards those things we desire most, and include, of course, the blessing of peace. We'll take a moment, and then the choir will bring us to that peace, God willing.
Ose shalom bimromav, uyase shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru, ve'imeru. Shalom bimromav, uyase shalom, שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו, אמן.
You will recall that Moses has in the last few parashot been delivering his final addresses to the nation called discourses. His opening remarks revealed an important principle, freedom of choice. He states quite categorically, "Behold, I set before you this day a blessing and a curse." It is an appeal that a correct choice be made now by the Israelites. The future of the Jewish nation depends on this. The Almighty has given them the land promised to them for as long as they live on the earth. This promise is the basis for all the disputes over the land in coming years. Let's stop and ask, why did the Almighty want to take this land away from the Canaanites, the occupiers? Doesn't that seem unfair? The reason is the hideous practices of the Canaanites, including sacrifice of children, even by fire. Indeed, archaeologists have uncovered such human remains. Thus were our ancestors instructed to break down the pagan altars and destroy even the names of such places which they occupied. There's a long and lovely description of bringing offerings and rejoicing in all that God has given them. Animals and fish are listed with instructions to rejoice, repeated several times. One prohibition is in consuming blood. It is a symbol of life and must be poured into the earth and not consumed. The people who were listening to Moses had gathered in a valley where the Levites surrounded the ark, I should say. They called out the blessings, and the people responded by turning one way and crying out, Amen. Then the Levites called out the curses, and the people responded by turning the other way and calling out again, Amen. The blessings covered their daily lives in town and field, their offspring, their crops, their cattle, their harvest, and their daily bread. The curses, called the doom, covered irreligious action, immorality, dishonoring your parents, injustice to the helpless, murder, bribery, and so forth. Dozens of items are listed. The point about not consuming blood is a good example of morality. The relevance of all of this for us today is to teach us certain principles by which we must abide. The first one is one of thanking the Almighty for giving us the privilege of being able to participate in all this. Secondly, we were schooled in moral behavior. The point about not consuming blood being a good example. This related to the essential daily habit of eating. And of course the rabbis developed special rituals and prayers for all daily activities, not only eating. If you see a wonderful scenic view, there's a bracha for that. And from these remarks, you can see how kashrut developed. Look at our materialistic techno society. It seems as if every commodity to make life easy is available. But referring to these ancient rules is like the traffic light turning red. Woo, stop, look around, and take stock. Don't be so absorbed that you forget these early instructions. Care for your family, and don't let idle worship of possessions take you away from time to be spent with your children and your wider family. Think of those sick with COVID virus and those who have lost homes and businesses, and help them if you can, or organizations such as Hatzolah and the Chevra Kadisha. The principles expounded by Moses 3,200 years ago, with a little updating, are as valid today as then. Let's try and put them into practice, with thanks to the Almighty for sparing us and allowing us to value and cherish His instructions. Shabbat Shalom. We now call on Leroy Barnes to chant the Kiddush for us. Leroy, welcome back to South Africa, and you're on.
ויהי ערב ויהי בוקר יום השישי ויחולו השמיים והארץ בכל צבעם ויחל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי ויקדש אותו כי בו שבת בכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן. אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצוונו בשבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו זיכרון למעשה בראשית כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש זכר ליציאת מצרים כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. Amen.
We turn to page 586 for the Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשינו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונה, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים עמה, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום תשב אותה אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים עמך, ועל הארץ מתחתיה עוד.
Thus it has been said, the Eternal will be sovereign over all the earth. On that day the Eternal will be one, and God's name will be one.
ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
We turn to page 597, reading number 11. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbours have lost, the martyrs of our people, whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. At this moment, I want to remark that the Reform, the Progressive Movement, lost during the last week Rabbi Dick Hirsch, one of our leaders worldwide. And Leslie Bergman will be delivering a tribute to him right now. Leslie is a member of Bet David, honorary life member. He's life president of the European Union for Progressive Judaism and recipient of the World Union's International Humanitarian Award. And he was a close friend of the late Rabbi Hirsch. Les, over to you.
Shabbat Shalom to all at Bet David. This is Leslie Bergman in London. I've been asked to say a few words about the passing of a Rabbi Richard G. Hirsch, who died on the 17th of August, aged nearly 95 years, a man I knew very well and was privileged to regard as a friend and mentor in my own career as a leader in the progressive movement. Rabbi Richard Hirsch started his career by being in charge of the Religious Action Center in Washington, the social advocacy arm of the American Reform Movement, and as such participated in the civil rights movement in America, marched to Selma, Alabama, preached at the funeral of Reverend Martin Luther King, and believed that in order for Jews to be seen as morally on the right side of history, they had to be activists and participate and seen to be doing the right things and not only say the right things. RAC, as it is known today, has a branch in Israel called IRAC and is the important branch of our movement that takes part in all the advocacy movements both within the Jewish world and the broader world of human rights. Rabbi Hirsch then became the executive director of the World Union for Progressive Judaism. The WPJ is the international federal movement to which all progressive movements throughout the world, 50-odd countries, are linked. When he took over, it was hardly a functioning organization. The organization was founded in 1925 by luminaries such as Rabbi Leo Beck, but until the Second World War was basically a conference meeting organization where every few years leaders, including our own Rabbi M.C. Weiler, would attend, and I have the minutes of the 1948 meeting in my possession, very interesting. But it was not the functioning organization that it is today. That is what Rabbi Richard Hirsch did. He was appointed in New York, and he believed that in order to have credibility, our movement had to be based in Israel. In 1972, he took the brave step of moving his family to Jerusalem, setting up the headquarters of the WPJ, and building, as a start, an Israeli progressive movement, because he believed that without that, we would have no credibility in Israel. He then set about building up our worldwide movement. His focus was on North America for raising money. He was very involved with the Soviet Jewry and started our movement in the former Soviet Union and was active in building up an Israeli progressive movement. He was very well known in South Africa. During my time in South Africa, he came over several times. He knew my parents in Port Elizabeth, and he was visiting South Africa regularly up to his retirement about 2000. He was without doubt the greatest international progressive Jewish leader of our time, a man of great vision. He built buildings in Jerusalem. He believed that in order to have permanency, you had to show it. It needed to be visible. So he believed in bricks and mortar and not only programs. Rabbi Hirsch was also a great human being. He was able to make friendships on a one-for-one basis, on a truly heartfelt knowledge of each person, their family background, and would pull you aside and say, I want to talk with you. And he would schmooze with you and then get about saying, this is what I want you to do. He was a great human being, a great leader. Great leaders are doers, and he believed that in order to build a movement, you have to do. And the great Rabbi Leo Beck always said that the essence of Judaism is in the deed. Richard Hirsch became a good friend of mine in the later years of his life. He moved from being a mentor who I observed, not in a formal sense. I observed his style of leadership, and I felt this action-based leadership was the right way to go about it. He became a friend in his declining years. I visited him and his wife in the retirement home in Florida. In COVID times, I would phone him once a month. He would tell me the same stories over and over again, but coming from him, it was a pleasure to listen to it. A week before he died, I'd heard he was in intensive care. I phoned. They wouldn't put me through. I said, tell Rabbi Hirsch it's Leslie Bergman on the line. They put me through. He said, my dear friend Leslie, I love you so much. It stuck in my throat. I couldn't speak, but I have to say goodbye to you. And a few days later, he passed on. So this is a personal tribute, but also you should be aware that our movement has lost a great leader, essentially the founder of our international movement, someone who knew and supported our movement in South Africa very well, and someone who I was privileged to call a mentor and a friend. With that, dear friends, I wish you Shabbat Shalom. We think of our loved ones whose death has recently taken from us, those who died at the season and years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. Zichron le'avracha, may their memories be for a blessing. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, b'alma divrach yirutei v'yamich malchutei, b'chayechondu v'mechondu, b'chayedu kol Beit Yisrael, b'galal zman kariv yiberu, Amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mavarach le'olam u'olmei u'lmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbar v'yitruman v'yitnaseh, v'yitada v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudesha b'richu. La'elach bin kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachat v'nechemata, dambiram ba'alma v'yimeru, Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shmaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimeru, Amen. Oseh shalom b'mumav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimeru, Amen.
Thank you, Leslie. I may just make a personal reminiscence there. I remember, Les, your late dad, Arnold, was the secretary of our shul in Port Elizabeth for many years. And we, of course, grew up in the reform there. And I'm proud of the way you've kept that background in your everyday life and the efforts that you've made for the reform movement in South Africa and overseas as well. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who passed away at this season in years gone by, and those who we have drawn into our hearts with our own. We remember this week Paul partner of Yaakov Levine van Rensburg, Marion Sinclair, mother of the late Barry Sinclair, Rita Bancroft, mother of Jack Bancroft, Toba Hirschfeld, mother of Carla Feldman, Arnold Bergman, father of Leslie Bergman, Lester Aubrey Sentner, grandfather of Dean Ormsby, Esme Gerson, mother of Paul and Selwyn Gluckman, Helen Sinek, mother of Mike Sinek. We remember at this moment the late Barry Sinclair, who would have celebrated his 92nd birthday tomorrow. I can see him sitting here in front of me in the seat that he always sat in. Yes, Barry, we remember you. Bet David Durban, we remember Harry Kershon, father of Leslie Shapiro, Malcolm Mendel Blumstein, mother of Pearl Hall, Mayor Greenspan, husband of Sass Greenspan, Marcus Arkin, Brian Lewis, husband of Rosemary Lewis and father of Belinda Lewis, Bessie Jacobson, mother of Bruce Jacobson, Jenny Miller, wife of Stanley Miller, Rita Langer, mother of Arlene Abrahams, Leonard Levy, husband of Audrey Levy, Samuel Lynn, husband of Helen and father of Jack Lynn, and those who passed away recently, Chip Siv, husband of Giki and father of Andrew, Lawrence and Warwick, and mourned by all at Bet Menorah, Pretoria, Colin Baruchowitz, father of Brendan and the late Shane Baruchowitz, and partner Adri Powell, Angie Kutner, cousin of Angela Frankel, and of course, we remember Rabbi Richard Dick Hirsch, about whom Les gave us such great intimate detail and spoke so eloquently. Thank you for your attention. We now turn to the final announcements. I'm afraid the announcements are quite long, but they are what they are. Thank you to Duron and Adam for so ably facilitating the streaming of the service. Thanks also to the congregants who contributed videos to the service. Please join Rabbi Elisheva tomorrow at 9 a.m. via Zoom for her weekly Torah study. The link can be found in the weekly Adkan and will be posted on the live chat. Our Shachrit service led by Ian Mann at 10 a.m. will be streamed live via YouTube on the usual link. See Adkan for details. The difficult decision was taken to keep the Bet David High Holy Day services as streamed only, with no congregants in the synagogue. Only essential technical staff and service leaders will be present in the synagogue for all services. We understand that online services do not fulfill all needs. Zoom and YouTube cannot replace a Beit Knesset, a gathering place. Nevertheless, the Jewish imperative, Pikuach Nefesh, preservation of life, remains the primary concern of the management committee of Bet David. We hope to make the High Holy Days services meaningful and special, with the inclusion of videos of honors recorded by congregants either at home or by appointment in the synagogue. Let us pray that this time next year we can once again be together in the synagogue. We can now report that despite our best efforts, Rabbi Elisheva Salomo will not be with us in South Africa for Rosh Hashanah. We've been working over the past few months to ensure that services for the High Holy Days would be conducted by a rabbi from Bet David. However, some legal prerequisites have made this impossible. I don't know if you know the red tape involved in importing somebody to work in this country. We are mindful that there has been so much uncertainty around a rabbi's arrival, and we thank you for your understanding. Once Rabbi arrives, she will be available for meeting the community by appointment. If you would like photographs and names of family members who passed away recently or in years gone by to be incorporated in a special slide presentation to be streamed during the Yiska Memorial Service, please send your photos together with the names of those to be remembered to the synagogue office by Friday, 10 September. Congregants can also honor a departed loved one with a leaf on our Eitz Chaim tree of life in the gallery of the shul. It is a custom at Bet David to distribute the Sefer Chaim for the Yizkor service. For all details, contact the shul office. Something of a lighter nature, part 2 of the Jewish connections to rock music will be streamed this Sunday, August the 29th at 3 p.m. Don't miss it. Rabbi Salomon's Sunday classes are postponed to accommodate the music show. We conclude our service with the singing of Shalom Aleichem, page 627.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Yod, Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bochim Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Yod. Melech Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Yod. Melech Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Yod. Melech Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
May we all be blessed this week. May we be blessed with health as the pandemic begins to come under control again. May we be blessed with security so that no one need fear as they walk through their neighborhood or to their cars or go shopping. May we be blessed with peace so that we may know tranquility in our hearts, so that our communities can gather together and care for those who need a little extra help, so that there will be a quieting of the unrest in the world. May God raise God's face to all of us and bless us. May God look upon us and grant us the sweetest of favor. May God survey the entirety of the world and remember that this is the world's birthday. And may our prayers for peace rise to the divine ears so that as a birthday present, we can all receive the overflow of peace. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shalom Umvorach, Shabbat Shalom, Shalom Umvorach, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom.